been a long road, but we're not done yet. Hey guys, Tom here. Welcome back to the Underground, and welcome back to the culmination of a very long road we've been on. We're going to announce the winner of, well, I'm going to announce it, you're going to watch, of the Classic Cocktail Clash. This started a long time ago. This has been going on over a year when we started the Clash, where we had, let's see, we had 8, 16, 24, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38 drinks vying for the championship to see which was the Classic Cocktail Clash. And today we're going to review the whole deal and then reveal which one is the winner. This all started because I just like classic cocktails and their history and like where they came from and what goes into them. And it's just very interesting to me. I mean, some people like Civil War history. I mean, I like Civil War history too, but cocktail history is something that it's very interesting to me. And if you remember, we started with our brackets. We had boozy, citrus, fruity, and creamy. And the boozy, I decided there were so many that just like the basketball tournament, we had to have a drink-in bracket. And then we pared them all down, put them up against each other. As we moved along, if there was variations of a drink, just to make it interesting, I made those and shared those. Some were successful, some not so much. But let's get into it because it was really fun. Creamy first. If you remember, creamy was White Russian, Gin Fizz, Milk Punch, Pina Colada, Grasshopper, Pink Lady, Brandy Alexander, Clover Club. And in the creamy, those included ones that were not just cream, but were like creamy and frothy because, let's see, 1, 2, 3 of them were creamy and frothy because of egg white. Now, I know that skeeved a lot of people out, but actually none of those drinks made it past the opening round. We moved all the way through, and the cool thing about this was what made through, like there's like White Russian, I thought it would be a slammer. Pina Colada creamy drink, about these drinks, it was like surprising what made it through. Like me personally, if I would have guessed out of this which one was going to win, I probably would have said Pina Colada or White Russian, but that's not what won. I mean, there was some in here I never had, like Gin Fizz I never really had, Clover Club I never had, Pink Lady I've had before, all these others I've had, and I talked to you my experiences with these as we went along. And if you want to see it, by all means, go through the whole Clash playlist because it's pretty fun, interesting stuff. But what went through the whole thing? White Russian and Milk Punch, that advanced. That was a great round. And then we had Grasshopper, Brandy Alexander, another great round. Creamy bracket was very strong. But in the end, even though Grasshopper made it a lot further than I thought it would as kind of an underdog, coming out of nowhere, and these weren't ranked, these were just random, I put them up against them. Coming out of nowhere to win the creamy bracket was the Milk Punch. Now, if you remember, Milk Punch, let me go through my thing if I get a little history for you here. The Milk Punch was Milk Punch came about as far back as the 1600s, before it even became associated with a classic New Orleans cocktail. And then places like Brennan's and Arnaud's French 75 bar perfected it, and then that's where it kind of became the quintessential one of the popular New Orleans drinks. If you remember, Milk Punch is more or less really just an eggless eggnog. It's bourbon based, with cream or milk. Well, milk because milk punch, and then spices like cinnamon and nutmeg and some sugar. It's just really delicious. So moving on, we had the fruity bracket. And in the fruity bracket, this is where we had a lot of tropical drinks and a lot of like your fancy umbrella type drinks. Things like Mai Tai. We had, I'll go through them. Mai Tai, Seabreeze, Whiskey Sour, Tom Collins, Daiquiri, Tequila Sunrise, Melon Ball, and Bahama Mama. Again, there were drinks in here, like I had not had a Seabreeze, maybe ever, but at minimum 30, 35 years. And I had forgotten what a great cocktail a Seabreeze is. And that made it really far in the competition. Actually, it made it to the finals of the bracket. It beat out things like the Mai Tai, a classic tropical drink, the Whiskey Sour, Tom Collins. And then in the other half of that bracket, the Daiquiri, which I think is one of those drinks that has a really interesting history. If you recall, it gets credited to there's a story with Ernest Hemingway, and I think Trader Vic's. No, Trader Vic's is Mai Tai. Let me see. Hold on. Let me find my paper. Trader Vic's was Mai Tai, but I don't think I'd ever had a Mai Tai or like a good Mai Tai, but that was really good. The Melon Ball, a simple drink, but good. And then after we'll talk about this real quick. I should have sorted these, but I didn't. As they lost, they just kind of went in the pile. But the daiquiri, like I said, a lot of history, and I actually have a whole episode just on a daiquiri. If you want to check that, I'll link that somewhere where you can watch. That's pretty interesting. A guy named Jennings Cox was an engineer who was a Navy medical officer, and for whatever reason, it came about in 1898 in a mining village situated near a beach of the same name on the southeastern tip of Cuba. One popular telling credits Mai Tai Daiquiri's creation to an American mining engineer named Jennings Cox, a U.S. Navy medical officer who brought And then after Jennings Cox, a medical officer from the Navy bought the drink from Cuba to Washington, and that's where it got popularized in the States. And then there's even something in here. Like I said, it's associated with people like Ernest Hemingway and JFK. It's really just one of those drinks. It's a simple drink, but man, is it good. And then that was finally beat out by the Bahama Mama, which to me is just like the classic tropical drink. There's a lot of versions of that. We made them all. Again, there's a Bahama Mama dedicated video if you want to watch that. And then finally, the Seabreeze and the Bahama Mama battled it out. And then the Bahama Mama won, which is not surprising because it's just really a nice drink. And then we moved to the citrus bracket. And in the citrus bracket, these are obviously lemony, limey, lemon, lime, grape, anything in the citrus family. Things like gimlet, caipirinha, paloma, mojito, dark and stormy, Cosmo, Moscow Mule Margarita, and I had never had a Paloma. I'm not a big tequila guy. I'd never had a Paloma. Delicious drink. A gimlet, that's a nice drink. It's just basically vodka or gin and citrus juice, but it's really nice. And then you get into some of my favorites. Dark and Stormy. It's got ginger beer in it with a lot of lime. You can't go wrong with that. Cosmo. A nice drink for a more sophisticated drink. Moscow Mule Margarita. We went through all the battles, and then the Paloma and the Dark and Stormy battled it out for the final there, and the Dark and Stormy came out on top. And then we moved to the most interesting bracket because we had to have the drinking bracket. And in the drinking bracket, I had things like The Godfather and the Americano, the Stinger, the Boulevardier. And the Americano and the Boulevardier are very similar drinks. They came about from the Americano anyway, because in Europe, Americans didn't really care for like the bitterness of Campari, so they kind of spruced it up for the American palate. But it couldn't take down the Godfather, which is, you know, Scotch and Amaretto, a really nice drink. I used to make a lot of these back in the late 80s and the 90s when I used to tend bar. Started tending bar, that is. And we got all the way to the end of those 4 drinks. The Godfather made it all the way through to the final of the drinking, and that went up against the Long Island iced tea, which is one of those drinks I had not had in easily, like the Sea Breeze. I definitely had a Long Island iced tea, but maybe not for 35 years. And I had honestly forgotten, even with all the booze that's in it, if you make it right and you just don't dump a bunch of booze in there just for the sake of drinking booze, it's a really, really nice drink. Refreshing, cool, thirst quenching. It's just delicious. So that made it into the main boozy bracket to go against classics and great drinks: Martini, Sazerac, Negroni, Old Fashioned, Sidecar, Mint Julep, Manhattan. And these are the drinks that cocktails, when you go out, you have a drink. It didn't make it on here because we did White Russian, but my dad would drink Black Russians, which could have easily been on here. My dad would drink Manhattans. My mom didn't drink much, but she was more in the creamy bracket with the Brandy Alexanders and the Grasshoppers. I've told you those stories before. But these drinks were all good. They were all great battles. And surprisingly, there was not really any blowouts in this competition. Nothing really just outperformed anything else. They all went down to 1 or 2 votes each to see what moved forward. And in the end, the Old Fashioned and the iced tea from the drinking bracket made it all the way to the finals. And coming out there was the Old Fashioned. So we had 4 drinks: the Old Fashioned, Dark and Stormy, Bahama Mama, and Milk Punch. And rather than match them up, I let you guys decide which 2 should be in the final. And you decided on Old Fashioned and Bahama Mama. And it was great. I let that run for a couple of weeks, and then we've come to the point where we have to announce the winner. So we have to announce the winner, and this was really fun. I mean, I almost don't want to announce a winner because I don't want it to end, because that's how much fun I had doing this, and I hope to do something like this again. Yes, as I stop farting, I'll finish. This was really fun because there's just, with all the different variations of the drinks we made and just the things that we did, it was just a lot of fun to go through and see what makes a really good cocktail. And it's not, I mean, when it comes to cocktails, I'm a bit of a purist. I like different things. I like citrus, I like fruit, I would say of all these, my least favorite bracket probably would have been the creamy bracket. Excuse me. But I'm not against that though either. And but they were all, I mean, was there a drink that I could say that I didn't care for in this? The one I could probably say I didn't care for, if you remember, I did an experiment where it was in the creamy bracket, and remember I told you, I read where if you don't like eggs, you can use bean liquid, and it'll give you like the same froth that you get from the eggs. While that is true, your drink does taste like not eggs. It does taste like kind of beanie at the end. So that probably wasn't my favorite. In the drinking bracket, I was not a super big fan of the Boulevardier or the Americano, because Campari just doesn't really do it for me. It's just, oh shit. I'll be cleaning that up later. It's just a little too bitter for my taste. But
other than that, there's most drinks.
Gee, this is not cooperating here very well today. I can honestly say there weren't any drinks that I really did not dislike, except for those few. I mean, even the ones like raw eggs doesn't bother me, so that wasn't that big of a deal to me. I know it does some people. That's why we tried the bean experiment. But that was about it. And so after everything was said and done, we made all those drinks, all those different times. We had to come up with one drink that was the drink, the classic cocktail to celebrate here at the Grantha Pub Underground, where I would say not your death row cocktail, but the quintessential classic cocktail was right there, the Old Fashioned. And I have to say, I'm not surprised. I don't really ever think in my mind, and this was totally random throughout. I did not manipulate this in any way. I had one vote each round, just like you did. But I always thought if I had to pick which one I thought was going to win, I would have picked this. And I was right, because you cannot go wrong. This one I mismade was, I think, other than the standard, I think this is my favorite variation, and that's a maple old fashioned, where you replace the sugar with some maple syrup. So here's to all of you guys. Thanks for being with me in the Classic Cocktail Clash. Voting, liking, subscribing, everything. It helped. It was a fantastic time. So cheers to all of you. Fantastic. A great drink. And I talked about this, specifically this one, the maple, when we made this originally. The bourbon is smoky and rustic, and the richness of the maple syrup just kind of rounds out, takes the whatever harshness, which I don't think bourbon is harsh, but if it just kind of rounds out the whiskey to just give it just a delicious flavor. I really don't know anybody, if you're a whiskey drinker, I don't know anybody that doesn't like an old fashioned. It's just a great drink. So guys, thank you so much for hanging out for the entirety of the Clash. If you just stopped by today for the first time, boy, did you miss a lot. Be sure to go back, watch the Clash, or even if you've been here before, hey, watch it again. I know I go back and watch them myself because it's really fun and some great drinks. But welcome. There's always room for you at the bar. subscribe to the Grantham Pub Underground, turn on notifications, hit the bell. When the bar's open, you can come and check it out, take a seat at the bar, visit with us for a while and have a good time. There'll be more things coming. There is going to be a new competition. I actually was already talking to a buddy of mine about it. And so I think it'll be fun. It won't take as long as this one, but it will be, I think it'll move along a little quicker, but it'll be fun and we'll have a good time. So thank you, thank you, thank you. It's been a wild ride. We finally made it to the end with the Old Fashioned. So thumbs up for the Old Fashioned, thumbs up to you guys. And I hope to see you again real soon right here at the Grantham Pub Underground. And until I do, I'll save a seat at the bar for you. Cheers.